let's say, it's not always easy, and you kind of get it in the neck if you're trying to change or bring some new project in or program in or for facilities, whatever it might be. And you think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and you're really excited. But other people in the business are like not as enthusiastic as you, or they don't like it, they don't feel comfortable, they don't agree, and they don't think that we should be doing it like this. And they sit there with their arms folded and they say, I don't want to do it like that. And if you don't get it right, as that agent of change, then it's going to cause conflict, it's going to cause unrest. And that's what we want to talk about today. So if you're here, it doesn't have to be in tech, but that's what we're talking about today. But if you're here live, say hello, please. Hello. And if you are listening to this on replay, do put your comment in and put hashtag replay if you're listening on the replay. So let's talk about it then. Conflict, unrest, unhappiness, downright awkwardness from people when you are trying to do something that you feel is in the for the good of the company, for the good of the people even. But some people will absolutely make it their mission to stop you from doing that. And that's really annoying, isn't it? And also, it's not great for getting paid, and not great for how you look in you're succeeding in your role. And you just want to shake them, but you can't, and say, look, come on, it's going to be great. And that's not how it works, because change to people, if they don't see the reason for the change, and they also don't see what's in it for them, then they are not going to necessarily want to do it, unless they're the kind of person that absolutely loves a bit of variety and loves the shiny and likes something new. But that's not most people. In fact, probably about 80% of people don't like change at all. So we're on a bit of a loser, and we've really got to do a good job in convincing people that this is the right thing to do and that they should join us in this program, project, or whatever it might be. But change in itself is really interesting, and that's what I'm going to share today, because it feels like a loss to people. And that's the bit I want to look at today is, well, if I'm trying to convince somebody and they feel like it's a loss, then what do I have to do to help that go away, or to change that into actually, well, how is it a win-win? Okay. So the thing is, if people resisting change is going to end in conflict, or it's going to end in unrest, or just that plain old resistance, then you have got to be able to deal with this. You've got to be able to know, how do I deal with conflict? How am I going to get people to go from struggling here to being part of it? You can't force it. And you also can't expect people to follow by just saying you're going to do it. Because, the senior leadership team might turn around and say, yeah, we are going to do this, whatever project might be, and on paper it looks amazing, and then nobody follows because nobody wants to, because you haven't actually helped them to get behind it. Okay, and that's what we want to talk about today, because the thing is, this is about how people feel. It's not always about how people are thinking logically. It's about how they feel and about what's in it for them. So we need to be able to create a win-win for people, in that they feel comfortable and confident that this is a good thing probably for the organization, but also for themselves. Okay. And there it gets personal, because as much as we get paid when we go to work, and we want to do a good job and all of those things, at the end of the day, we have to, the good old phrase, put your own oxygen mask on first. Well, that's what I'm talking about, because people still are going to think about themselves first, in terms of, is this safe for me? Is this right for me? Do I want to do this? And not only that, they will also think about their opinion about what they think is right for the company, especially if they've been there a long while, because there's all this history of, we've tried this before, or I don't want to do it like that. I like the way I already did it because I feel safe and it works okay. And so unless you can convince somebody this is great, then it's not going to happen. Okay, so they're going to make it really hard for you, and you need to be able to understand what's going on, deal with it, take care of what's happening here, and use your perhaps softer skills to encourage people to join you in what you're trying to do. Okay, and I want to talk about this theory of like how people feel in terms of loss. And I think this is really, really important, because if you can understand this piece and see what it does to people and how that drives behavior, then you're on a winner, really, because you can change that and you can service those needs that people have, so that they then join you. Okay, now there are loads and loads of things we could talk about communication skills. We could talk about sharing your vision and all of those things. But this specifically is about this feeling of loss and the needs that need to be met for people. And I'm going to share my screen, actually. She says, hopefully. Hang on. I need a drink. 1 second. Okay. This is what we're going to share. Just one slide. There we go. Okay, so what this is like, it's the source of all the problems, which is the source of conflict. Where does it start from? What's going on? And this is a circular thing, because it's a vicious circle if we don't get in there and stop it. And I think this is going to help you. Just one little tool is going to help you change the way that you deal with people who are resisting change. Okay, so if we start at the top, we start with needs. Now we all have needs, but I'm going to talk about the 6 human needs. I'm not going to put them up on the screen because I've talked about them before. And we'll do that in another live. But let's talk about 6 human needs. So I need to feel safe and secure, but I also need to feel like there's interest and there's variety in my life. But I also need to feel important and to feel significant. But I need to feel that I'm making a contribution and I belong. Okay, I've forgotten one. I can't remember. Oh, I need growth. Sorry. So the 6 human needs, Tony Robbins talks about. If we think about those things, so I need to feel significant, contribution, variety, safety and security, growth, and I've forgotten another one now. Okay, so when we think about those, just those needs, I mean, there's many, but let's just look at those 6 human needs. If one of those isn't met, then what happens is we have a feeling of loss. Okay. And this is the same in a way of the grief cycle. So if you think about it in that way of like, if I've got a feeling of loss, then I am going to have an emotional response. A feeling, I'm going to have an emotional response, and I'm going to have a behavioral reaction to that emotion. And that behavioral reaction, it leads to destructive behaviors, like not doing what you want them to do. They might not think that's destructive, but it might be to you. Not doing what you want to do, throwing their teddies out the pram, having a tantrum, being downright awkward, going off with stress. It's anything that you think that is not really what they would normally do or how you would normally want them to behave. Yeah. And so they're going to behave negatively because then they had this feeling of loss. So it's all of the emotions and behaviors that are driven by that from the feeling of loss, which comes from their need not being met. So let's just go back to that. So people want to feel significant, they want to belong, and they want to feel like they've got a contribution. I'm going to use those ones for now, okay? And imagine when it comes to change, they might lose some of these things, or they might fear they're going to lose it. So for example, they might fear that they're safe in their role. Okay, so safety and security is one of those needs. They might fear that they're not safe in their role. Or they might anticipate that their job is going to change significantly, and they don't like that. They want safety and security. So in their mind, they're thinking, this is going to be awful. I don't like it. Yeah. So they have a feeling of like, I'm losing my safety and security around my role. Or they might think, well, they're taking something away from me. I'm not going to be able to contribute anymore. Or they're going to say, well, I've worked here for 25 years and now you don't need me to do that, or you haven't asked me about this and I don't feel significant, for example. Okay. And so one of these needs is not going to be met. Many things. I don't feel respect, or, something that they're unhappy with. Okay. It's not normally about money, by the way, just so you know. It can be though. And so what that does in ourselves is creates this like, well, I'm losing out. I feel a loss. This isn't fair. And all of those kind of feelings. And that's what happens. We stop being the logical adult, let's say, and we start to get more emotional and perhaps even fall into like a child ego state of like, I'm not playing this game, or I'm not going to do what you want me to do, or I'm going to make things really awkward for you, that sort of thing. Okay. And what that means is that the behaviors are coming out now, and then what you see is these destructive behaviors. You're frustrated, and maybe you have to deal with those things, but you may feel like, well, hang on a second, I'm not getting what I need from that person, so then your need is not met, so you have a feeling of loss, and potentially, if you're not careful, your emotions cause a reaction to destructive behaviors as well. And so it can be a vicious circle. And so what we need to make sure is that we don't join in on this, even if the people that you are trying to get to join in with a change are in this cycle. Okay, so that's the first one, is don't join in. But understanding that somebody may well be going around this cycle. Okay, and what happens then if they're going around this cycle, if you don't understand that they're going around this cycle, and then you're getting maybe frustrated with them, or you're thinking, Christ, why doesn't Bob just get on with it, for example, and then you don't deal with it in a way that actually reduces their feeling of loss, or acknowledges their emotions, or fulfills the need. That would be brilliant if you could do that. Then it's just going to carry on. So the art of this, the bit that we need to do, is to use our softer skills and our ability to listen, and our ability to empathize, and our ability to understand, to uncover what's going on, and not just look at the behaviors, the annoying behaviors that you see. So if you're seeing somebody being downright awkward and, terrorizing your new project or whatever, then you need to ask yourself the question, why are they doing that? And kind of work backwards around this. How might they be, think about this, the behaviors, right? How might they be feeling? What emotion might they be feeling? And why might they be feeling that feeling of loss? What is the feeling of loss? And what do they need? Yeah. So you're going backwards around that circle. And when you get to that need, and this might be because you actually asked them, which would be really helpful, talking and listening to Bob about how he feels, about what's going on for him, what his fears are, what he needs, and being able to acknowledge and understand those. And then you probably can find a win-win solution that maybe, for example, brings Bob into being part of the decision-making process, or being part of being able to suggest things, or reassuring him that he isn't going to lose part of his job, or whatever the thing is. But until you understand the needs, you don't know why Bob is behaving like a child. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when you use this, what you do is you reduce the resistance, you reduce the conflict, because you are understanding what is going on for Bob. Okay. And so at a human level, you are acknowledging that he has an opinion, he has this feeling of loss, and therefore, even though you're trying to implement change, you can help that to be a win-win situation. And the wonderful thing about this is when you do this, suddenly, now, because you've listened, because you've heard what Bob has to say, Bob gets in everything, doesn't he? And then you've maybe helped to create that win-win situation. Well, suddenly Bob's on your side now, and Bob is your biggest advocate, because he knows that you're a good person, man or woman, or whoever you are. You care, you are doing this for the right reasons, and then he's going to also listen to perhaps the vision and the articulation of what you're trying to do much more as well, because you've listened to him, you've understood his needs, and therefore he's going to understand yours too, because you can then explain, do you know what, this is why we're doing what we're doing, this is what we're trying to do, can you help us here, and all of those things. So you can then utilize it for him to listen to you, and him to then feel like, I can get on board with this. So there you see that if you want to reduce resistance for any kind of change, or any kind of project that you're doing, or, to be honest, anything, then you have to get to the source of the conflict. You have to get to the source of what's going on for the person who is showing resistance, not just trying to control them, or at worst case, punish them, so that they do what you want them to do. When you get down to the deep parts of this, and you really respect that need, then you will get far, far better results. And so this is one of the things that we talk about on our Impact Accelerator, because clearly, if you're going to get better results with change, you're going to have more impact. So this is about the impact that you have on other people. And this is a positive impact if you can implement this. But this is one of the things that we talk about on our Impact Accelerator, our 12-week program. And if this is something that you would like to be part of and you would like to hear more about this or the other strategies, then give us a shout, because you can join the 12-week Accelerator and be part of the group that are growing that impact that they have through CTO superpowers. The things that you don't get taught, the techie stuff is agreed, you've got it. But let's put these CTO superpowers of the softer skills, the leadership, the communication on top of those. Let's layer it on top, and then you will have far, far more impact as a CTO or a tech leader. Okay, so if you want to do that, give me a shout, send me an email, julie@thinkbdoleadership.com, or just send me a message if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'll be very happy to discuss how we can help. Okay, give us a shout. Thank you very much. Any questions, again, put them in the comments and we will answer them very happily. You take care. Bye-bye.